And welcome back, Fire Addicts, to another episode of Travis Does Fire. Today, we're out of mini bundles. Let's make some more. So, I had a recent customer buy me out the other day, and I think she came back to buy more. And then I tried to reach out to her, and she didn't respond. So, I keep my solo mini bundles up here. They're more or less at 5 inches or 4 inches. I think I'm going to change that. And I don't know why they're not a bigger seller. Maybe I don't market them properly. Maybe the price point is too steep for certain people. But I don't know why these are not flying off the shelves. I still think that the mini solo burner stove things, I think they're still popular. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not sure. I know that other channels like Back 40, he sells a whole bunch of mini splits. I don't see why it's not a big seller here. But anyway, we are out. And it's been several months since I had been sold out. But I need to make some more. But I have a new way of doing it. Let me show you. So the other way, it's been several months now. My dad saw at my Firewood stand that I was selling the mini bundles, and he saw the episode where I was using the chop saw to make them, and he wanted to help me improve the process. So if you're not familiar, I'll link the episode up here. But my main way of making bundles is I would take 16-inch pieces like this here, and then I would split them. I'd probably take pieces I would use for my bundles or my bags of firewood, and I would split them smaller in smaller pieces like you see here, and then I would use a chop saw, or some of you call a miter saw, and I would cut them into 5 inches or 4 inches lengths, and then I would bundle them. Okay, and that's all fine, and that works. But sometimes it's a little bit shady, and I wanted to have an improved process, but I didn't know how to do it. So my dad offered, "Hey, let me take on that challenge. You give me some mini split firewood. Let me see what I can do." And he came up with this. This is what he came up with here. Okay, so if I haven't told you already, my dad spent several decades self-employed as a general contractor. I've learned all my working skills from him, and he built and formulated this jig for me for the mini splits. So let's go over this real quick. So if you recall, when I was making mini splits with my chop saw, I would have the saw that would come down and have some sort of I think on the table there, I had measured 5 inches. So I would measure 5 inches here and cut, and then move over the piece and cut. With this jig here, what this is, it's a cordless skill saw, right? Mounted on, and we have a plywood, and we have skids here. So this fence, the table, fits in with the saw like this now, right? And down here, I don't know if you see this or not, down in here, there's a groove that's cut. So you lift up this handle, and it fits in here, and the depth is set just perfect where it will cut into the bottom here, so make sure that it will cut the wood properly. So this slides back and forth. I guess it could be waxed, but it doesn't really matter. So what you do, you take your mini split wood, and you hold it, and you have it under the saw like this, right? So under here is hollow, right here, and then you slide and you cut, and then you have your piece right there, done and done. So I think this is a little bit safer than using the chop saw. Now, if you're wondering, you get the tape out here. From this cut line over to the edge on this side, it's a good 5.5 inches. Now this is the piece that I cut here, and that's 5.5 inches right there. 5 and a quarter or so. Okay, so I think that's more or less in that sweet spot for mini splits. So I have yet to try this out because I haven't had a need to make more bundles. And I know my dad has helped me out by making this. So by saying thank you to Dad, I'm going to try to use this, and I'm going to make a few bundles, and I'll see if this is actually effective, better than the chop saw or not. Or if anything, just a test to see if it works. I know it's going to work, but I want to make sure, maybe give you all some ideas if you're into selling firewood, if you want to sell maybe mini splits, or if you think that would be a big hit in your area. This is one way to potentially make them. If you're not going to cut down rounds at 5 inches or whatever else, if you're going to split them into 16 and then make mini splits after the fact, I think this is one way. So let's do some cuts right here. I'll put you on fast forward. I'm going to put on some safety goggles, and let's get cutting. All right, so that wasn't too bad. I'm not sure if it's safer than the chop saw or not. All I know is several pieces I got in here, and I hit the stop for the 5 1/4 or ish length measurement, and my hand, there's like a little bit nub for my hand to hold on to, and that for me is just too close for comfort to be close to the blade. It's just not worth that piece of wood having that fly off and having your hand hit the blade or whatever else. Yes, there's this board here. It's just still, it's just too close for comfort. So 2 pieces are too long to go in the bundle, and have some shorties here, which will just be scrap. So I think this is, I think before we get into the actual bundling of it, I just want to highlight, I think this is good for someone who wants to dabble in mini split firewood, bundles or bags in a small production, or just kind of try it out. I don't think that this would be good for mass production. I think other channels like Back 40 have done a really good job of having to figure out how to make large scale production of mini splits. This is not it. This is for like small production, weekend warrior type stuff. So I think one thing that I did figure out, that each time you cut, you have to reset the saw in here to lift this up, reset it in the groove, and then run it home each time, or it's not going to work. So that takes a few seconds to do that, and as it takes up time, it adds up. So that might be one factor for you to say, you know, this is not for me, or I'm okay, I live with that, let's just do that. So I think this was a home run. I think that worked out fine. Having be cordless is lightweight and there's no cord on it, but you can use any type of mini saw. In fact, you can set this up for a full-fledged larger skill saw, but I think having a smaller skill saw works in this application. Now, let's move on to the bundling part, which my dad helped out as well. So over here you can see we have these splits, and they're already the vertical in this jig here. So one of my issues was having to hold on to the bundle while I'm trying to wrap, and that was always kind of an issue. So I think my dad tried to solve that as well. So what we figured was, and we assumed, and I defaulted to my buddy Ken over at Ken Cuts, because he sells mini splits and smoker wood. And what I think that we figured out is, I was selling my mini split bundles and they're about this size. And I sold these for $5. And I sold them for $5 because the amount of time and effort it takes to make these bundles, I want to get something out of it. Yes, this is not a lot of wood, but these take time. So I think with this jig here, it's more wood. This wood here was more or less what I could hold in one hand and the other hand to wrap and bundle it. Whereas this bundle here, it's standing upright in a jig, and then I can wrap it. So what this is here is a pipe. I think this is ABS pipe, and this is going to be at 6-7 inches. So from outer edge to outer edge, it's 6.5 inches. So a 6-inch pipe, and then it's cut, put in a plywood that is cut out, and then the pipe is mounted to the plywood. So this is all upright. This is now full, so that I can use my plastic wrap. Now this is the cheap plastic wrap from the dollar store. So I can use this now to get the bulk of it wrapped and bundled like this. Get a good amount here. It's going to be tight. It's all going to stay in the pipe, stay in place, so I don't have to handle it. And yes, this looks kind of awkward, but this is definitely a lot easier than what I was doing before. Pardon the angle of the whole, come on, plastic wrap. Pardon the angle of the camera, but I think that you get the idea of what I'm trying to do here. So make sure that the wrap is on it. It's going to be secure like this. All right, tear it off, and then we have, take out of the pipe, and then we have our bundle. Now what I could do is I could bundle the outer edge here, but that's more or less secure. So that looks like more of a substantial amount of wood for $5. And for the pieces to be at 5 1/4, I think that's a good length for a mini bundle. So I think that is an improved process. Now because my dad did it for me, I can't go through all of the nuts and bolts of what he did but to cut this pipe out here, what the measurement of the pipe, I think he cut, what is it? I'm gonna go like 2 inches of the pipe. Not a lot, just enough for the inner part to hold the pieces in it, right? And then mounted to a piece of plywood so it's stable. And then I think this, I'm not sure what this piece is though, but he has screwed, you can see in here, he's screwed right in there and screwed right there the cut pipe into the plywood, and he cut a hole in the plywood so the pipe sits flush to the bottom edge of the plywood. So I think this is definitely a home run and a good idea for a bundling jig for the mini bundles. I don't know what square footage this is. We can do the math of this, but it's not a cubic foot, but it's definitely an amount that someone would buy and burn with their mini stove. And come over here with the cutting jig. I think this all together is a good idea. Now again, not large scale. This is definitely like one-man show, weekend warrior, side hustle stuff, especially if you don't buck up rounds at 5 inches or 6 inches. I think so. This is going to be you're going to be cutting up wood that you already cut up at 16, and then you're going to have like byproducts, which I guess you could sell these as well for like cheaper price, or just use these as fire starters in your own stove. So I think this is a good process. I don't have the plans for these or the specs or whatever, but if you want them, let me know down below. I want to know your thoughts. Would you spend the time to make something like this that would make maybe your mini split life better, your mini split game easier, better, faster, safer, but better than having to use a chop saw? Or you're not willing to buck at 5 inches and then split, whereas you want to cut down your 16 inches to make your mini splits because you're not selling oodles and oodles of them type thing. So I think this is a good idea. I'll use this in the future. Right now I'll make a few more bundles to sell. Again, I don't sell a lot of these bundles, but I want to know your thoughts. Is this something that you would make, something you would use? Is it a good idea, or definitely like a, it's cool, but definitely not for me. I don't know your thoughts. Anyway, that's it for this episode. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate it. Remember, life's too short to be a prick, so be kind to another. Rock and roll. Stay safe, cutting. Cheers.